ha! Yes! Hello! This is much better. A lot more lighting, but hello, my rejects, hello, my isolationists, lords, ladies, fellow mages, and those who practice the arts. I am so happy to come to you with another video. This will be video number 6. Count it on your little fingers, on large ones. If you're an athlete or anything else of that nature, I am so happy to come to you today. So happy to come here to present to you another video with some much better lighting. And I believe it is rather ambient, don't you think? Yes! Yeah! Oh, that looks nice! I am so happy to come to you and bring you another video. It has been a while and I do apologize for the late upload. Other things happened lately and I will tell you in a moment. Hold on, let me get a bit closer. Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm absolutely giddy. I'm so excited because I have something proper for the camera to keep it in a position. And I rather like the angle. It picks up all my best sides and all my best spots. I just want to hide myself. But no, seriously, I want to thank you all for tuning in for another video, for constantly coming back and listening to this madman talk about his antics. But I know something all of you enjoy as well as I do. It helps me decompress. It helps me, allows me, as it were, to provide my own sort of counseling because I need it. But no, so today in this video, I'm going to be discussing a few things that happened to me this week as a result of my magic. I told you it works. It works. Passive magic works. Oh my God. But you know, and of course, all thanks to Pahalu. Thank you so much for being with me all the way. You've been an inspiration. I love you, darling. But in any case, a lot of things happened this week. I believe the first thing I should come to order, I believe should be, well, first I want to perhaps, I know I recently uploaded the last video. And so there was a few things that perhaps I forgot to mention. But in the last bit, I was talking about dragons a bit in the last one. I'm not going to talk about it again. It's just a recap. Please bear with me. And so in that video, I mentioned a lot of things about dragons being arrogant and everything else. Oh, excuse me. I think I'm about to sneeze. Oh, no! You're going to see my boogers, aren't you? You're excited. I shaved and everything for this video because I care about the way I look. And I care about all of you the same. I'm sorry, but it's still cold, by the way. Can you see this? My breath does not smell that bad. I just had breakfast. But no, so I know I mentioned a lot of things about dragons being arrogant and everything else. I do not hate dragons per se. I'm not trying to not cancel myself. It's nothing like that. Okay, okay. Before you guys see the video, I sent it back home to my fellow mages and my family. They see the video. They were like, well, you know, media. You mentioned a lot of things. I don't know if we really agree with everything you're saying. You shouldn't be putting that out there. And I was like, look, the people back home in the mortal realm need to understand how things work here. They need to understand how our laws work, how the rules work. I had an okay from the academy. You know, Quincy has never looked at me the same way. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, that is what we are doing. And so, but it is true though. There are dragons out here. And there are people out there who are essentially dragons, you know, with mountains of gold and no one seems to care about it, you know, but that was all another matter. I didn't want to apologize for what I said. What I said was serious. And what I said was the utmost truth. I implore you. And honestly, it is something that all of us need to know. It is something that all of us need to take account for. You know, I understand that there are many laws, things like magical Peter that come into the picture. But honestly, I was trying to be as political as I could be, but I was also being very honest about my opinion. Dragons, are they people? I honestly cannot say, but honestly, I'm not going, look, if you are a dragon watching this, and I appreciate you if you are, please hit subscribe. Yes, but no, I want to talk about all the bad things about mages too, so don't worry, it's not going to be just about you, because as powerful as we are also imperfect. And we have many things in common, as it's magic, as it's mana, all of those wonderful things. So, there is that. I do apologize if perhaps I offended some of you. But honestly, this is what the channel is for. You should have logged on and clicked the video, but you did it anyways, didn't you? Of course you did. You know, because you understand quality and content when you see it. It's not like I'm reviewing other videos and reactions, am I? Though I could do that, but honestly, what effort would that take? None. Absolutely none. YouTubers. But is it content? Yes, technically it is content. But I'm not going to bash all of you for that because honestly, you need to do what you have to do and I support you 110%. So, I've rambled on a bit about the last bit. I'm going to discuss something a bit into this video about curses, something I didn't mention in the last video, quickly. But I do want to talk about the good things that happened during the week. So, I was going through my work week, and if you remember correctly, I told all of you that I was in the market for a vehicle, a cart, as it were, to caress my noble bosom and to take me from point A to point D. Yes, all of it. And so I was unexpected. Yes, I went car shopping. I believe that's what they call it. I went to market. And I went car shopping and all of these things. I went to so many places to try and look for a car, a vehicle that could fit me properly. That was within the right amount of, money or currency that is valued in this world, in this mortal realm. So I went out there with my father, of course, because he knows of such things a lot more better than I do. And we went there and everything else and no dice. So, come Wednesday, I believe, my father's like, you know what, son? Actually, I've recently come into contact with a person who might have a vehicle of your choosing, who might have something that is perhaps in your market, and it looks rather nice. Would you like to go look? I was like, certainly! I have nothing else better to do, it's my day off. So I was like, why not let us go to this place. I will not mention where, because, you know, certain technicalities, certain issues, some people may, whatever. I went far enough away, was able to find a vehicle, and I have a car! I have a vehicle. Yes, Pahalu blessed me. I was so happy about it. I was not expecting to have a vehicle Wednesday, but I got one. Yes, my magic is working. Passive magic, and that's not all. Yes, you remember my garbage bin that got stolen? Guess what happened? Oh. Sorry, let me dress myself. I'm absolutely elated and giddy. The city called me back and they were like, you know what? We're going to replace your pin. Ah! Woo! That is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you. You see, it may not be something as extravagant, but the world of the invisible is something all of us need to look out for. And I'm trying not to lose my voice right now, but I am absolutely excited. Not only did I get a car, but I noticed in the same week for a replacement pin. Now, whether or not it gets here is another story. But I got the message, so that is something. So I thank all of you who perhaps saw this video, who were helping out for me. I know my friends back home were, you know, doing their chants or their cantations and prayers, and I appreciate all of it, and I thank you so much immensely. But honestly, I wasn't expecting to have what I needed this quickly. So it worked. It worked. It was all according to plan. Oh, unlike some people's plan. But no. So I would now. Woo! I'm sorry, I'm so excited. So after all of this and everything else, I'm going to go to temple pretty soon. And oh, excuse me, my chair was on my cape. To do our weekly mantras, our weekly charging of our mana to focus it. Yes, I am part of a small group of individuals. We perhaps unite perhaps 1 or 2 days out of the week. And, you know, we chant and we sing songs to the Great Spirit and all these other things. And it is marvelous. It's a wonderful good time. If I know you well enough, or perhaps if you happen to be by, please, by all means. But actually, it's an invite only. At least for now, we're trying to keep ourselves a bit small. We don't want too many people involved in our circle, in our gathering of mages. But actually, we do have a few mundane people there, and they take part in it because they too have mana, and they too help focus and channel the mana to us and to the Great Spirit. So we thank you for all of your support. We thank the city. We thank the Great Spirit for providing us our every need. And I am absolutely excited. Hold on, let me get a better angle. Right here. I'm Batman. I look like... never mind. Unless you want to put the other mask on. Okay, so I'm going to go into the proper segment of this video. I'm going to talk about curses. Now, curses is something that's very important. I give you the daily rundown of my week, things that happen, but I believe when it comes to things like curses, people need to be better educated and properly educated in the manner concerning of curses. So, people are familiar with the word curse. Many people think it's a myth, but there are many things that are in fact curses that are real, in real life, but people don't consider them curses. The people that was afflicted by it, they assume every curse is something extravagantly magical and what? No, that is not the case. So curses, for example, are things that happen to us, whether we bring them upon us or not. Sometimes they are involuntarily given, or they are a consequence of something that we did in return. Curses can in fact be self-inflicted. Other curses can be imparted by malevolent spirits that gather through the realms that garner each world. Sometimes it can even be by other mages, let's be honest. It happened to me several weeks ago. I broke it, but it was very irritating. And I do not appreciate any of you who did that to me, you bastard. Sorry. Positive manner. Yes. But no, seriously, look. So when it comes to the subject about curses, there are a lot of people that don't really understand how these sort of things work. And so curses, for example, can be something like alcoholism. People see alcoholism, and these are things that are, things that we have, things that we need to deal with. And these are things that physically show a reaction to an imbibing. And so there are things that happen to us. People are affected differently by the intake of certain alcohols, the intake of certain, spirits, as it were. And so when you have something like alcoholism, a person, it doesn't happen to everyone, but some people, they become an alcoholic, as it were. They have this dependency on the substance itself. They are what other people might call addicted. But another word to consider is that they are cursed. Now, these curses aren't always long-term, but one of the most dangerous or perhaps detrimental thing about these curses is that they can fall through the bloodlines. The thing about alcoholism, as my prime example, there are many other ones. It is one that is most prevalent in our society, and we see these things. And so when that person is an alcoholic, they need to have alcohol. But the things that alcohol, it dries you up, it sort of numbs your mind. It makes you not the person you were a few minutes ago. Not all the time. Some people can handle it quite well. Others not so much. But when a person starts to develop a dependency, when a certain person starts to visibly and physically be affected by the imbibing, you have to assume that a small level of a curse has been inflicted. You can also atone for the fact that alcoholism can be inherited through the family. So when certain things go through the bloodlines into the reproductive area, the children are born with these sort of curses. So medical scientists say that they are more, I suppose, what's the correct term? More likely to imbibe because the parents had it. You have the same things with things like HIV, STDs, things of that nature. Diseases that can carry through the blood are another type of curse. Diseases are curses. Let's be honest, a curse and a disease are pretty much synonymous, except people present this curse as if it's something that's mythological or perhaps fictional in essence. But in truth, a disease, an addiction, or anything of that matter, that sort of affects your life in a negative way, that stunts your growth, that stunts you from progressing in your life, is a type of curse. Now, the people here in this society have different ways of dealing with curses. You have the doctors who try in every way of the word to prescribe to you potions, which do in fact work in some cases. However, in the more severity of the curse, or I suppose the disease in mind, you need to require a lot more than just potions. If a person, for example, is taking a certain type of medication through potions, poultices, or tonics, and they are still under the subjugation of this disease, it is in fact a curse. So perhaps a more I suppose, supernatural or magical action has to be taken. Now, the thing is that it gets very complicated. I'm trying to break this down, dumb it down, as it were, so that all of you don't get lost or confused. But when it comes to things like curses, it's something that we wanted to take into account for. So there are certain things in our life that perhaps we don't consider curses, but they in fact are. But the thing is that when it comes to curses, it's not the same for each person. And so sometimes the curses can be broken through different methods, and it varies from person to person. Some curses latch onto a person through fear. Other ones is through manipulation. Other times it is through the, indulgence of certain substances or perhaps certain actions that some might deem immoral or questionable. So it is held in a theory, according to certain mages within the circle, as well as some practitioners, is that when you cease the consumption of certain things or perhaps avoid certain actions or things that can possibly, cause you to be cursed in this manner, it would mean that you are essentially breaking the curse. However, that is not always the case. In the most rarest of circumstances, in this sort of things, when you've exhausted all other options, you have to consider the supernatural. Now, sometimes it is not always a spirit. It's not that there's a spirit always there or present. Very oftentimes, it is something that perhaps just occurred naturally. Through something that perhaps could have been imparted by a spirit or perhaps not. Maybe a dragon did it, the bastard. Or perhaps maybe some mages or witches or anything of that sort. But these sort of things do happen. So the best thing for you to do at this moment is to try and discern whether or not something you have is something that you've done to yourself physically, or something you were born with, or perhaps something that was perhaps casted upon you by someone else. I knew a person, for example, back in my realm, who had a mild case of vampirism. His name was Ralph. Ralph was a very kind person. I knew him for many centuries. And so there came a point in time where I stopped seeing Ralph. And I was like, well, Ralph, where could you possibly be? I would go to his house. He wouldn't come out. I would call him through the scry mirror and say, hey, Ralph, are you doing okay? And he was like, I don't want to talk right now. I'm going through some things. He was going through some things for a long time. And when a person is subjugated under a curse of some sort that sort of dissuades them from trying to connect with other people, to have a sort of positive feedback, there's a lot of interference there happening. It could either be something spiritual, supernatural, perhaps physical in their body that are preventing these sorts of things to happen. So I couldn't know for sure. And you couldn't just start incanting or imparting anything without knowing for certain. Otherwise, it is mana wasted. So one method to do is to just impart positive mana, like what I did this whole week and throughout my whole entire life. Passive magic works. In my realm, it's a bit different. We have things like more practical magic. We have things like untamed or, powerful arcane magic. But here in this world, it works differently because of the laws that were established. So, in order for certain things to be lifted, I suppose broken, if you can't do it with conventional means like potions, poultices, or tonics, you have to start imparting enchants, incantations, or prayers. For those of you who perhaps, pray or whatever. It's another word for chanting, or you're essentially praying. Let's be honest. Many people try to differentiate it. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're praying to a spirit, or God, or whatever, to do something in your favor. That is no different than what mages or witches do for that matter, except it's for different spirits. But whatever the case may be, the point is that you are imparting your mana. You are trying to send forth your mana to deliver that person out of their situation. You could be, I'm sorry. Just the shadow called me out of nowhere. But it is easy to take into account. So you are essentially sending forth your positive manner, your goodwill towards the person to act in their favor. When you are doing this, the energy you are sending them, they are in fact receiving. However, depending on how severe the curse is, or if perhaps there is some sort of spiritual influence, you may need a bit more power because it perhaps could be a spirit of some sort blocking the connection of your mana. There are very few things that can stop mana or the connection. You have things like dragons, other mages and wizards, and then you have things like spirits in the other notion. They get to know it's not always their fault. Sometimes they're just passing through the mana, it's like boom, it hits them. Spirits are affected differently by mana. Spirits see mana as something physical. They can interact with it. For us, it's not like that because we live in a corporeal form. But spirits, they have to either, go around it, sometimes go through it, or sometimes stop the mana from coming forth their way for whatever reason. It could be something innocent, or perhaps it could be malignant in nature. We personally don't know, because we are not essentially spirits in that form. However, these are things that we have to take into account, like I've said time and time and again. It's a word that I've been using quite frequently, and I don't know why. This is an educational video, but it's something very important for you to know. So, he had a case of vampirism. It was a bit minor, but it still was enough to, I guess, draw some concern. He was a mage, but I was quite confused, because for the longest time, and even I said in the previous video, that we are not affected by the vampiric curse or any other curse, because our magic protects us. So it looks like what he had was a sort of pseudo-vampirism. It was something that was like vampirism, but it wasn't vampirism in the slightest. It was a hex that was given to him by some asshole who apparently didn't like him for whatever reason. So they were like, let me put this curse on him, and then he will rue the day he crossed me. And when he told me this, I immediately started to impart my mana. I started to chant in my native language, which I will not utter here. And so I was saying all of these things. And then, after quite some time, he started to feel a bit better. But these sort of things take time. You know, curses and things of that nature can't just be broken in some circumstances in the same day. Of course not. No. I'm still in my dungeon, by the way, if I don't notice. If you hear an echo, if you see my breath do like this, if you can see that, I am in fact still in my dungeon, because apparently I make too much noise where I live. So there is that. I'm still dealing, I'm sorry, I'm actually waiting to have my own proper place where I can record in confidence. But apparently people here are worried about noise or anything else, or screaming. I was like, look, if you hear screaming, it's none of your business. I'm watching a movie. But no, so it is something that's very serious. So if you want advice on curses, I'm not an expert, but I can talk to you from things that I've experienced firsthand. So after we prayed, or we incanted, or we chanted, or whatever you call it, he was starting to get better. I got other people involved in these sorts of things, and it then got squared away. And then it was fine. Then you have some people here in this world that are afflicted by something that they can't get rid of normally or by themselves. And it requires much more effort, to say the least. I am quite surprised how hard it is to, I suppose, enact magic in this realm as it is. Doing it the legal way, I guess I should say better. But it is something that is quite interesting, something that is so important for all of us to take into account, to all of us to understand. Not everyone is under a curse. They're under the illusion that they are. Their mind plays tricks on them. But that in itself is a type of hex. It's a hex of confusion, a hex of paranoia. When those things sort of happen in a person's life, when nothing's really wrong with them, they are under the influence of a minor curse. But when you have someone who is struggling with things like addiction, who is suffering through things that, alcoholism, who is perhaps, having issues with things like sexual relations, who have things like blood diseases and everything else, these are curses. They're not always done or given by spirits or anything else. Sometimes not even done by other mages or people that practice darker arts. Sometimes these are things that are the result of magic gone awry in nature, in the world. Things like cancer, for example, is a curse, and a very powerful one that is very hard to break, and in some circumstances cannot be broken because the curse has been made permanent. However, I can say this. There were certain people, mages back home, that had something similar to what you mortals call cancer. And through, of course, they take their potions and everything else, the treatments. But I do believe in positive manner, in magic. Going at work, pahalu, working for your favor. For all of these things, delivering you from your afflictions, or, whatever ails you. Things like if you have money problems, and you're always using that money, you never have money, you're always poor, money's being sucked out of you, you don't know what it is, you think a dragon's in your bag. There probably is, the bastard. I'm sorry. Apologies, I didn't mean it. But no, it's things like that. These are also curses. So we need to keep in mind. So The best way to minimize, I believe, the effects of the curse, if you're not engaging in any sort of, I guess, questionable dark activities that could perhaps do these things to you, you need to look for the warning signs, first of all. Do you have sort of an unhealthy addiction? Do you have something that is stopping you from progressing in life? Do you have something that is perhaps hampering your strength, your will, your positivity, and even your manner? You perhaps could be under the influence of a type of curse or perhaps a disease that requires, if not a potion, perhaps a level of magic that perhaps you do not possess. And so you need to confide in people that have access to these certain abilities and that can impart, you know, their words of favor on your person. Yes. You know, so you need to make sure that you're not under these sorts of things. I understand people now have COVID. Is COVID a curse? You can certainly call it a curse. COVID, however, is an illness. It is a sickness that has arisen from what we understand through, they say something natural. In this world, let's be honest, you know, they had people screwing sheep, and that's how syphilis came into the picture. So, you know, people were involved in any sense of the word, and now we have COVID. You're welcome. Yes, as long as I didn't give it to you, it wasn't my fault you have it, but you have it nonetheless. And so these are certain things that, yes, you can use magic, yes, you can pray, yes, you can chant, incantations or charms or whatever. This is something that you need to work at. But COVID, fortunately, is something that can be cured through time and through the introduction of certain potions, poultices, or tonics. All of these things. And so, is COVID a curse? I believe it could be perhaps a temporary hex. COVID is not something for life, though we will probably deal with it for days to come. What we can hope for is build the body's immune system to resist, but it is also channeling and charging one's positive mana to shield yourself from the dark and bad influences of the world you live in. And it's the only way to properly do it. So, things like curses, vampirism, you have things like werewolves, you have things like partial reanimation. You have things like a person who cannot get a good night's sleep because they keep waking up and they don't know why. You know, they don't fall asleep. Insomnia, for example, is a type of curse. RLS, restless leg syndrome, it is honestly an effect of you moving your body around a lot. But sometimes, yes, it can be caused by a curse of some kind. Some people have it lifelong. They don't know what to do with it. Sometimes it requires therapy or anything else, taking medications, but it is these things that we deal with. I'm sorry. But yes, so anything you can think of, anything that perhaps, I suppose, strikes out at you, could be in fact considered a curse. And it's something you have to look out for. And sometimes it will happen to you. It will come to you without you doing anything about it. But that's why it's a curse. However, those of us who are strong in mana and strong in our practice and in life can use that curse for beneficial purposes. So that instead of it being a curse, it becomes what you all call a blessing, a boon or favor. But these things can only be that way if they are working in your favor and not against you. With great power comes great responsibility. And sometimes one man's curse can be another man's blessing. Like having parents. I love them. I love you, mother, father. I love you. I'm just talking out of my ass right now. But yes, so like I said, keep these things in mind. Practice, channel your mana, be positive as much as possible, and take what I said to heart. Some good things happen to me. I have a new car. The bin is coming. So do what I do. Practice the mana, charging of the mana, being positive, sending your energy out there. Invoke Pahalu if you want. Speak to him. He loves the company. He really does. He's a really nice person. But there are times he can be quite sensitive, so I try to, refrain myself sometimes. He does get a bit offended, but he's a good person, and I love him very much. So, without further more delay, thank you for watching this video. I do hope it was something a bit educational. I try to have it be a bit humorous as I could, but curses are a touchy subject, so that's very serious. I thank all of you for tuning in, for being here, for being your beautiful, sexy selves. I do hope you enjoy my setup here. I am constantly evolving, getting better at this whole camera business. I am a mage after all. I'm not gifted in any sort of matters. And I do hope the lighting is all right. I do feel like it is a bit dark, if I may say the least. I wonder if I can perhaps adjust these sort of things here. Can you see me better? No, yes. Yes, no. Dark, lighter, whatever. But the point is to be good, be kind, be special, be loved. Take care of one another, your families, your friends, your pets, your animals. Practice in safety, safe practicing. And remember to always brush your teeth and floss, because if you don't floss, you'll have cavities, and then those can lead to bad things, and you do not want mouth worms. That's something that happens in my world, and it's very real. Practice safe sex, and remember that I love you very much. Good.